Nestled in the Hollywood Hills of California, the home once shared by actress Brittany Murphy and her husband, Simon Monjack, has become the center of eerie reports and strange occurrences following their tragic deaths. Brittany Murphy was a rising star in Hollywood, known for her roles in films like Clueless and 8 Mile. In December 2009, her sudden passing at the age of 32 sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Just 5 months later, her husband, Simon Monjack, was found dead under similarly mysterious circumstances in the same home. The unexplained deaths, surrounded by conspiracy theories and media speculation, only added to the house's eerie reputation. Soon after their passing, visitors and residents of the area began reporting unusual happenings within the property. One of the most frequently mentioned occurrences is a sudden and unexplained drop in temperature, even on the warmest of days. People walking past the house have claimed to feel a chilling breeze where there should be none. Neighbors and former guests have also reported hearing strange noises coming from the home, creaking floors, whispers, and even the sound of footsteps when no one was supposed to be there. The haunting feeling was so strong that some said it felt as though the house itself was mourning the loss of its former residents. As for the house's interior, there have been claims of furniture moving on its own and lights flickering without reason. Some even say that the air inside feels heavy, as if something unseen is watching. While these stories remain unconfirmed, they have added to the growing legend of Brittany Murphy's Hollywood Hills home. Though there is no conclusive evidence that the house is haunted, the unsettling reports continue to draw curiosity. Some wonder if it's the tragic events that took place there, or something even more mysterious, that has made this home a place of such dark fascination. As the years passed, the strange incidents surrounding Brittany Murphy's Hollywood Hills home continued, drawing the attention of paranormal investigators and curious onlookers. Yet, despite numerous attempts to uncover the truth behind the chilling occurrences, the house remained shrouded in mystery, its secrets tightly guarded by the walls that had once witnessed so much tragedy. One particularly unsettling report came from a local photographer who, after snapping a few pictures of the house from the street, noticed something unusual when reviewing the shots later. In one of the images, the figure of a woman appeared in the window, an image so clear and defined that it left the photographer shaken. The woman, with long, dark hair and an almost translucent appearance, seemed to be gazing out into the night, her expression distant and sorrowful. No one else was supposed to be inside the house at the time, yet the photograph left little doubt. Something or someone was present. Neighbors, too, shared their own unnerving experiences. One elderly woman, who had lived on the street for decades, recalled waking up one night to the sound of soft, muffled voices coming from the house. She assumed it was a late-night party or someone in distress. But when she peeked outside, the house was dark and silent, no one in sight. The voices, however, continued for hours, fading only with the first light of dawn. Others who had dared to step onto the property during the day claimed to feel an overwhelming sense of unease, as if the house was rejecting them. It wasn't just the temperature drops or unexplained noises, it was the palpable weight of sadness that seemed to hang in the air, lingering like a fog. Some even reported a sense of vertigo, as though the earth beneath their feet had shifted slightly, leaving them disoriented and uneasy. But perhaps the most spine-chilling encounter came from a paranormal investigation team that was called in by a local TV station, eager to capture footage of the rumored hauntings. The crew set up their equipment inside the house, hoping for some proof of the supernatural. As they began their investigation, strange things began to happen: faint whispers over the radio, electrical devices malfunctioning, and shadows that seemed to move just out of the corner of their eyes. But when they ventured into the master bedroom, things escalated. A low, guttural sound echoed through the room, a voice, but not one that could be easily understood. The team, visibly shaken, tried to make sense of what they had heard, but as they reviewed the footage later, they discovered something even more unsettling. An image of a woman, standing in the corner of the room, her figure barely visible but unmistakable. Her face was contorted in an expression of anguish, her eyes wide, staring straight at the camera as if begging for help. The footage, which was never aired, only deepened the mystery. Was it a ghostly manifestation of Brittany Murphy herself? Or was it something far darker? And why had the house become the focal point of such strange occurrences? As more and more reports flooded in, one thing became clear. The house, once a symbol of Hollywood glamour, had transformed into a place of sorrow, fear, and unanswered questions. It seemed as though something more than just the tragic deaths of Brittany Murphy and Simon Monjack lingered there, something tied to the very foundation of the home. Some say it is the lingering energy of untold stories, secrets never meant to be uncovered. Others claim that the house, in some inexplicable way, still holds the essence of the lives lived within it, caught in an eternal loop of unresolved fate. But whatever the truth may be, the house on the Hollywood Hills remains a place of fascination, its chilling aura drawing those who dare to enter, hoping to uncover the truth behind the haunting of Brittany Murphy's home. As the years dragged on, whispers of the house's dark secrets grew louder. Despite its increasing notoriety, the property remained unoccupied, its windows dark and empty. But even in the silence, something seemed to be stirring within. Locals continued to avoid walking too close to the gates, and those who ventured near often found themselves drawn into a strange, unexplainable pull, as if the house itself was beckoning them. One evening, a local man, who had heard the rumors but never truly believed in them, decided to test the stories for himself. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and his skepticism, he climbed over the gate and made his way toward the front door. He had heard of the chilling cold spots and mysterious noises, but he was determined to prove them wrong. What he wasn't prepared for was the overwhelming feeling of unease that washed over him the moment he stepped inside. The house, though empty of life, felt far from abandoned. The air was thick with tension, as if something unseen was watching his every move. The floors creaked underfoot as he ventured deeper into the hallways, each room darker and colder than the last. But it was the master bedroom that truly unnerved him. Inside, the room felt oddly familiar. His flashlight flickered erratically as he scanned the space, but there was no denying the presence of something or someone within. As he slowly approached the bed, his breath caught in his throat. The blanket, once neatly folded, was now rumpled and twisted, as if someone had just gotten out of bed. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. He spun around in terror, but the door was locked. Panicking, he frantically tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The temperature in the room plummeted, and with it came an unmistakable presence, an overwhelming weight that pressed down on him like an invisible hand. In the midst of the chilling silence, a soft voice whispered his name, faint but distinct, coming from somewhere within the room. It wasn't loud enough to make out the words, but the tone was unmistakable, desperate, pleading. He turned to the window and saw something even more terrifying. In the reflection of the glass, a shadowy figure stood behind him, its features obscured, but its presence undeniable. He tried to move, but his legs felt like they were glued to the floor, as if the very room was holding him captive. As the seconds stretched into what felt like eternity, the temperature continued to drop, and the voice grew louder, now clear enough to be understood. "Help me!" Terrified and disoriented, the man scrambled to break free from the room. He finally managed to force open the door, stumbling out into the hall, but when he turned to look back, the bedroom was once again empty. The house was silent once more, as if nothing had happened at all. Shaken to his core, the man fled the house, and when he tried to recount his experience to others, few believed him. Some said it was just a trick of the mind, fear playing games on him. But there were others who knew better, who had heard the same whispers, seen the same shadows, and felt that same inexplicable presence. Not long after his visit, strange things began happening to him. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He would hear whispers in the dark, footsteps following him when he was alone, and sometimes, even in the safety of his own home, he would find items moved or out of place. But the most chilling of all were the dreams. Every night, he would dream of the same woman, the one he'd seen in the reflection of the window. She would stand in the corner of the room, watching him silently, her eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and desperation. And each time, before he woke, she would speak to him again, her voice softer but filled with anguish. Help me. But what was it that this spirit, or whatever it was, wanted? Was it Brittany Murphy herself, still trapped in the house, unable to move on from the tragic events of her life? Or was it something far older, an energy that had always lingered within those walls, feeding off the emotions and memories of all who had lived there? The man wasn't the only one to feel the weight of the house's unresolved history. Over time, more and more people began to report similar experiences, haunting dreams, shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their vision, and the constant feeling that the house itself was alive, watching, waiting. And as the stories continued to spread, the house's reputation grew, attracting the attention of yet another group, this time a team of renowned paranormal investigators. This team, known for their expertise in high-profile hauntings, was determined to uncover the truth behind the growing legend. They arrived one fateful evening, armed with the latest technology and a team of experts prepared for whatever they might encounter. But even they were unprepared for what they would discover inside the house on that dark, stormy night. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. The team of paranormal investigators arrived at Brittany Murphy's Hollywood Hills home just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The evening air was thick with fog, and the sound of distant thunder echoed through the hills, as if nature itself was warning them to turn back. But they pressed on, determined to unravel the truth behind the rumors that had haunted the house for so long. They set up their equipment in the living room, placing infrared cameras and motion sensors throughout the space. The lead investigator, a seasoned expert with decades of experience, explained to his team that they would begin the investigation in the master bedroom, where the most chilling reports had come from. They were ready to capture anything, whether it be ghostly apparitions, strange sounds, or unexplained movements. As they made their way upstairs, the air grew noticeably colder. It wasn't just the temperature, it was the feeling of oppression, as though something was pressing in on them, urging them to leave. The team exchanged uneasy glances, but none of them spoke the words that were lingering in their mind. This place feels alive. The master bedroom, once the heart of the house, was now an unsettling silence. The bed, still made but slightly askew, seemed to almost mock the normality it once represented. The investigators spread out, positioning their equipment at various points in the room. The lead investigator, a woman named Sarah, set up a spirit box, a device designed to capture random radio frequencies that some believed could reveal spirits attempting to communicate. They waited in silence. Minutes passed. Then, a strange sound broke the stillness. At first, it was barely perceptible, a faint whisper, as though carried on a breeze that wasn't there. Came again, louder this time, but no one could quite make out the words. "Did you hear that?" one of the team members asked, his voice tense. Sarah nodded, motioning for everyone to stay quiet. The voice had come from the far corner of the room, where the shadow of the window cast an eerie silhouette. It wasn't a voice of comfort or peace. It was a voice of distress, filled with sorrow and pain. "Help me," it whispered, barely audible, but unmistakable. She activated the spirit box, hoping it might help bring clarity to what they were hearing. Almost immediately, the device sputtered to life. Static crackled, followed by distorted phrases that made little sense until one word cut through the chaos. "Betrayed." The room seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. The temperature dropped dramatically, and a dense fog began to form in the corners of the room, swirling in a pattern that seemed intentional, almost calculated. The team moved closer to the source of the disturbance, their flashlights casting long shadows across the walls. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them, plunging them into darkness. Panic set in as they scrambled to turn on their backup lights. The room felt suffocating, like the air had thickened, pressing down on them. And then, through the swirling mist, a figure emerged, a woman, her face obscured by long, dark hair. She stood motionless in the center of the room, her body unnaturally still, as though she were suspended in time. "Brittany?" Sarah whispered, though she wasn't sure why she said the name. Something inside her just knew. The figure didn't respond. Instead, a strange sound filled the room, like a low hum, vibrating the very air around them. The team's equipment began to malfunction, flashing erratically, And then, as if responding to their fear, the figure moved. Slowly at first, but then with increasing speed, she glided across the floor, her steps soundless, like a shadow that had broken free of its bounds. The temperature plummeted further, and as it did, the whispers grew louder, almost frantic. Betrayed, left behind, the words echoed in their minds, as though the figure was communicating directly with them. The lead investigator stepped forward, her voice shaking but resolute. "Who are you? What happened here?" The figure paused, turning its head slowly, the long hair falling around its face. For a moment, it seemed as if the room itself held its breath. Then, without warning, the figure vanished, dissolving into the thick fog that had overtaken the room. The investigators were left in stunned silence, their hearts racing, trying to process what had just happened. But they had no time to reflect. From the corner of the room, where the mist had been thickest, a new sound began, one that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. It was the sound of something scratching at the walls. At first, it was faint, almost imperceptible, but then it grew louder, more insistent. It was coming from behind the wall, beneath the floorboards, from somewhere deep within the house. And it wasn't just one sound, it was a multitude of them, layered on top of each other. Faint voices, desperate pleas, and something else, something darker, more primal. They turned toward the source of the noise, hearts pounding in their chests. The scratching continued, louder now, growing more frantic. With no explanation, one of the investigators dropped his camera, his face pale with fear. "It's not just one. It's too many. There's something buried here. Something locked away." The team was paralyzed with uncertainty. What had they just uncovered? Was the haunting connected to Brittany Murphy's tragic death? Or was it something much older, something tied to the very foundation of the house, buried beneath its walls? As they searched for answers, the house seemed to grow darker, more alive, as if it had been waiting for them to uncover its secrets. But what they would find next would be something none of them were prepared for, a discovery that would shake the very foundation of everything they thought they knew about the house and its cursed history. The team stood frozen, hearts racing as the scratching sound grew louder, echoing through the walls, beneath the floorboards, as though something was desperately trying to break free. Each investigator felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if the house itself was coming alive, reacting to their presence. The whispers were now clearer, more desperate, and with each word, the air grew heavier, colder, suffocating. "We need to leave," one of the team members whispered, his voice shaky, but the others, caught in the growing sense of unease, remained still, unable to move. They had come for answers, and now, it seemed, the house was offering them a glimpse into something far darker than they had imagined. Sarah, the lead investigator, steeled herself. "We can't leave now. We need to know what it wants." Suddenly, the floor beneath their feet trembled, and with a violent shake, a section of the floorboards splintered open, revealing a hidden compartment below. The team recoiled in shock, their flashlights illuminating the dark space beneath the house. Something buried for years had been disturbed. With trembling hands, Sarah grabbed the nearest crowbar and pried the loose boards open. Inside, nestled among the dust and rubble, was an old wooden box. It was battered, covered in a thick layer of grime, but there was no mistaking its significance. This was no ordinary find. This was something meant to remain hidden. Together, they pulled the box free from the debris. The room seemed to go deathly quiet, the whispers now replaced by an eerie silence, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for what would happen next. The box was locked, the metal clasp rusted with age. But with a single sharp pull, the lock gave way. Inside, the team found what appeared to be old personal items, papers, photographs, a small, tarnished locket. And at the very bottom, buried beneath the other contents, was something that sent a chill down their spines. A letter, stained with age and partially torn. Sarah unfolded it carefully, her hands shaking as she read aloud. "To whom it may concern, I fear I have made a terrible mistake. What I have uncovered within these walls is not a treasure, but a curse. I should have left it alone, should have let it rest. but I have not. Now, I fear the house will claim us all. Please, if you find this, do not come to this place. Do not disturb the resting spirits. The letter was signed with a name, Simon Monjack. The revelation hit them like a thunderclap. Simon Monjack, Brittany Murphy's husband, had written this letter, warning anyone who might come across it. It was clear now. The house wasn't just haunted by Brittany's tragic death. Something far older and darker had been awakened by their presence in the home. Something that had been there long before Brittany and Simon had even moved in. As they processed the letter, the room seemed to grow colder still, and the fog in the corners of the room began to thicken once more. The air became dense with an oppressive energy, and a shadow materialized before them, a tall figure, its features hidden in the mist. But this time it wasn't a woman. It was a man. The investigators froze. The figure stood motionless, staring at them through the thick fog, its form indistinct but undeniably real. The team's equipment began to malfunction once again, the lights flickering violently, the spirit box emitting distorted static. But through the chaos, a voice emerged, deep, guttural, and filled with anger. "You shouldn't have opened it," the voice rumbled, sending a shock of fear through the investigators. "You've disturbed something that was never meant to be found." The figure stepped forward, the mist parting as it moved. Its presence seemed to drain the light from the room, leaving the investigators in complete darkness. The whispers grew louder again, swirling around them, filling their heads with 1,000 voices, all speaking at once. "Leave, leave, leave," they chanted. Terrified, Sarah tried to steady her breathing, but the fear was palpable, suffocating. She looked at her team, each of them wide-eyed, frozen in place, as the shadowy figure drew closer. It reached out a hand, its fingers long and skeletal, and the moment it touched her arm, she felt a jolt of energy, something cold and ancient, as if a part of her very soul had been drained away. But just as quickly as it had come, the figure vanished. The mist dissipated, and the house returned to its eerie silence. The temperature began to rise again, but the oppressive weight remained. The letter had revealed something much worse than they had anticipated. This wasn't just a haunting, it was the result of something ancient, a curse buried beneath the house, and it had now been awakened. The team, shaken to their core, stumbled out of the house as quickly as they could, but as they left, they could hear it soft at first, like a whisper, but growing louder and more insistent. "Leave now, or join us." No one could explain what happened in that house that night. The footage they captured was a jumble of distorted images, flickering lights, and static, with no clear answers. Some claimed that the house had been cursed long before Brittany Murphy ever set foot in it, and that the tragic deaths were simply the latest chapter in a much older, darker history. Others believed the curse had been unleashed when the couple disturbed whatever dark secrets were hidden beneath the house. And now, it was out for more than just them. The property was sold soon after the investigation, though no one dared live there for long. The house stands to this day, its walls hiding the secrets of the past, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to come too close, to pry too deeply, and to disturb whatever darkness still lingers within. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. Any coincidences with real events or characters are accidental.